Hello, I'm Tricia Murray and welcome to the Birth and Baby Academy. Today we're talking about some of the biggest myths around childbirth. And at the end of this, I welcome you to go to the birthandbabyacademy.com and download 101 questions about birth. And do that with your partner because that will help you to identify any gaps in your knowledge. So what do you think? What are the biggest myths around childbirth? What are the things that you want to know more about, that if they're true or not? And where do those myths come from? So what do you think? Do you think there are any myths around childbirth? What do you want to know the truth on? And where have all these myths come from? So some of my favourite myths around childbirth are that childbirth is dangerous, that childbirth is one of the most painful experiences a woman can go through, that you need a caesarean for X, Y and Z, and that birth needs to happen in the hospital. So let's go through them one by one and see what you think. So is childbirth dangerous? Well, I've covered that in depth in another post that you can find here on the Birth and Baby Academy. But really, my thoughts are that actually compared to some other everyday risks that we expose ourselves to, childbirth is actually categorically safe. That things like driving, cycling, and even using stairs are actually much more dangerous than childbirth. Is childbirth one of the most painful experiences a woman can go through? Without a doubt, many women do experience pain, but other women call that pain intensity or like this massive force that goes through our body. And we've never had so many tools and techniques to help us to manage the pain. And we've got access to like huge analgesics now, which we've never ever had before. And it's really important we understand why we have that pain, because that can help us to manage it. And many women, especially when they've had unmedicated births, will have like a massive rush of endorphins afterwards, and that will help them to forget all the pain in the childbirth. Do we need to have caesareans for certain reasons? So some of the common reasons that we hear that you need to have a caesarean would be if you were having twins, which isn't true because when they looked at studies, so twin caesarean rate is about 75 to 80%. And there was a study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and what they did in that study was they managed to reduce the caesarean birth rate down to 44% from 75 to 80% by encouraging women to go forward for vaginal deliveries where they felt it was safe. Another reason why they might say you'd have a caesarean would be if you've had a previous caesarean before. But again, that's not true either. Many women, especially when they've got the right support and they're well educated, they can easily achieve a vaginal birth after a caesarean birth. Another reason might be around breech babies, that if you've got a breech baby, you need to have a caesarean. But again, that isn't true, and many women can vaginally deliver a breech baby. One of the issues now is the fact is that there's very few healthcare professionals who are skilled at being able to support women to do that. And of course we hear that if you have a big baby that a caesarean birth is a much better option. But again, when women don't have that fear instilled into them, they can easily deliver much bigger babies. Another myth is the fact is that birth needs to happen in hospital. And this is something that we now know isn't necessarily true and isn't necessarily the safest place for a woman to give birth. More and more studies are demonstrating that giving birth in a midwife-led unit, so not in a hospital but in a separate birth centre which is run by midwives, is actually safer than giving birth in a hospital. And outcomes, especially for first-time mums, and outcomes for second and subsequent pregnancies are much better for mum and baby when they deliver at home, which is something when I tell parents, they just can't believe it. But there's a huge study done by the University of Oxford called the birth play study, and that demonstrates the fact is that it's very, very safe to give birth at home and in standalone birth centres. So these are some of the very common myths that we have around birth and things that I hear day to day. And I welcome you now to go to the Birth and Baby Academy with your partner and work through 101 questions about birth. And that's a tool that you can use together to identify what the gaps are in your knowledge so that you can then build your antenatal education around that and really build your knowledge so you are absolutely and utterly informed and educated about how to have a better birth. Having a positive birth experience doesn't come from an action, it comes from everyday commitment. So what are you going to commit to today? It's time for you to relax deeply and learn wisely and experience a much better birth.